Let's dive into one of the most talked about stories emerging from the NFL draft. The prank call made by Jax, the son of Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulrich, to Shedeur Sanders. This incident has taken the internet by storm, and I want to break down the details and share my thoughts on the matter. First, let's go over what actually happened. Jeff Ulrich's iPad was left open while Jax was home from college, where he's a student at Ole Miss. During this time, he stumbled upon Shedeur Sanders' exclusive draft phone number. Shedeur had recently changed his phone number specifically for the draft and had sent it out to all 32 NFL teams. Jax noted the number, and during the New Orleans Saints pick at number 40, his friend called Shedeur using that number. In a video of the call, they laughed and pretended to be Mickey Loomis from the Saints, asking Shedeur if he was tired of waiting. When Shedeur responded affirmatively, they jokingly told him he would have to keep waiting before hanging up. This prank quickly spiraled into a major story, especially since Shedeur is the son of Deion Sanders, a legendary figure in the NFL and a member of the Falcons' Ring of Honor. It's not a great look for the Falcons to have their defensive coordinator's son prank calling the son of a player they honor. The Falcons released a statement acknowledging the situation and mentioned they would conduct an investigation to prevent this from happening again. However, it seems a bit excessive. Often when something goes wrong, there's an overreaction to ensure it doesn't happen again. For instance, in my hometown, candy was banned from being thrown during 4th of July parades after a fluke incident where someone got hit in the eye. That reaction was over the top, and I feel the same way about this situation. The real lesson here is simple. Coaches should keep their devices secure. I also find it puzzling how Jax managed to access Shedeur's number. Was the iPad unlocked and just sitting there, or did Jax have a plan to sneak in and find the email? It seems unlikely that the iPad was casually left open on a coffee table with that email easily accessible. My guess is that Jeff might have been a bit too relaxed with his iPad security, thinking it was safe to let Jax use it. Now, regarding the fallout from this prank, I think the reaction has been blown out of proportion. While it was certainly a poor choice on Jax's part, some commentators have suggested that the entire Ulrich family should be held accountable. That seems unfair, especially considering there are 3 kids in the family. Should Jax's younger siblings be punished for his actions? I don't think so. Let's be honest. If this prank had happened to any other prospect, would it have received the same level of attention? Probably not. While it was rude and Jax should face some consequences from his father, it's not a crime. He made a mistake, and that mistake reflects on his character. Moving forward, he'll likely carry the label of the guy who prank-called Shedeur Sanders, which will undoubtedly impact his future opportunities. I don't think this situation warrants a severe punishment. The Falcons are understandably embarrassed, especially since it involves Deion Sanders' son. It's not a great look for a professional organization when a coach's son can so easily access an iPad. The idea that the iPad was simply left open feels a bit far-fetched. This isn't some cheesy drama from the mid-2000s where you can just sneak onto someone's computer by guessing their password. In reality, Jeff Ulrich probably couldn't have done much differently, aside from perhaps raising a son who wouldn't find this prank amusing. My hunch is that Jax knew his dad's iPad password, as many families tend to use the same codes for various devices. He likely took advantage of that knowledge, accessed the iPad when his dad wasn't around, and thought it would be funny to get Shedeur's number. After jotting it down, he closed the iPad and returned it to his dad's backpack, leaving Jeff completely unaware of what had transpired. It's hard to say what preventative measures could have been put in place to avoid this incident. Sure, the Falcons look bad, but what could Terry Fontenot have done from January until now to prevent this? Should he have held a meeting to warn everyone that one of their kids might mess up? It's unrealistic to think he could have anticipated this. I don't believe the NFL should penalize the Falcons or take away a draft pick. This was an employee's son acting foolishly, not a calculated move by Terry Fontenot to give a phone number to a stranger for a prank. Now, shifting gears a bit, I want to touch on a quick update regarding Kirk Cousins. Ian Rappaport recently appeared on the Pat McAfee show and mentioned that if Aaron Rodgers doesn't end up in Pittsburgh, Kirk Cousins could be a possibility for the Steelers. He noted that after the draft, it seems like the options for Cousins are dwindling, and he might end up as the backup in Atlanta. This aligns with what I've been saying for the past couple of weeks. With the Browns signing Joe Flacco, it's really come down to the Steelers as the only viable option. If a trade were to happen now, it would likely involve a 2026 draft pick. I could see it resembling the trade that sent Justin Fields from the Bears to the Steelers, which was a conditional sixth-round pick that could escalate to a fourth based on certain criteria. For Cousins, perhaps it would be a fifth-round pick that could turn into a fourth if he plays more than 50% of the snaps or if the Steelers make the playoffs. Now let's move on from Kirk Cousins and focus on the Falcons draft class, which I thought was impressive. I see potential starters among the picks, and I believe by week 18 we could see 3 of them in starting roles. However, I was a bit surprised when they selected Jalen Walker and James Pierce. Initially, I thought Walker would play inside linebacker and Pierce would be an outside linebacker, each filling different roles. But then Jeff Ulrich clarified that they plan to use Walker as an outside linebacker, focusing on his edge rushing abilities. At Georgia, Walker was a versatile player, showcasing his skills as a pass rusher with 11.5 sacks over 2 seasons, even though that wasn't his primary role. He was a key piece in Kirby Smart's defense, and I'm excited to see how the Falcons plan to utilize him moving forward. Let's talk about Jalen Walker and his potential as a pass rusher for the Falcons. If you think about it, Walker's part-time role as a pass rusher is where he truly shined. Atlanta believes that if they give him more chances in that position, his sack numbers could really take off, maybe even reaching 8, 9, or 10 sacks. However, this transition will require some adjustment for Walker. Last season, he played 203 snaps as an edge rusher and 258 snaps as an inside linebacker. While he's not entirely new to the idea of coming off the edge, it wasn't his primary role at Georgia. This means he'll need some time to adapt, especially as he works through minicamps, OTAS, and training camp leading up to the regular season. So if Walker starts the season slowly, say with half a sack and 1 tackle for loss in the first 4 games, don't be discouraged. The second half of the season could show a much better reflection of his abilities in this new position. Another interesting change for the Falcons is in their secondary. They drafted 2 safeties, Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman. I don't expect Watts to be handed a starting role right away. He'll need to earn it during training camp. In contrast, Bowman, who played primarily as a free safety at Oklahoma, is being moved to the nickel position. This is a significant shift, especially since the Falcons already have solid safeties like Bates, Fuller, and Helms. It's a bit puzzling why they would double down on safety when they already had a strong lineup. However, it seems they don't view Bowman strictly as a safety. The Falcons have a history of making similar moves. For example, they drafted Matthew Bergeron as a left tackle and immediately shifted him to left guard. Bowman is a more athletic player compared to Watts, who is more of a field general, using his instincts and football IQ to make plays. While Bowman may not be the surest tackler, he does possess better speed and fits the profile of a nickel corner at 5'10" and 192 pounds. I think this transition for Bowman will be a slower process. As a 4th-round pick, it's uncommon for players in that position to have significant roles right away unless they really impress during training camp. I wouldn't expect to see much of Bowman in his rookie season. He'll be competing with Alfred and Phillips for the nickel spot, and I suspect he might finish 3rd in that race. That's perfectly fine, though, as Phillips is nearing the end of his rookie contract and Alfred is on a 1-year deal. This year can serve as a learning experience for Bowman, setting him up to potentially take over as the starting nickel corner next season if he performs well in practice. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Falcons draft picks. Which one was your favorite? Consider the value of where they were selected. For me, I'd rank Jalen Walker as my top pick, followed by Xavier Watts, who was a solid value at the end of the 3rd round. James Pierce is also a good pick, but I think Watts offers better value overall. To wrap up today's discussion, I want to give a shout out to some viewers who sent in super chats during our live draft coverage. Thank you for your support. And to our featured viewer today, Invest Guy, I hope you find some great investment opportunities. Until next time, take care.